Hi everyone! Congratulations on making it to the end of the semester. I hope this class was as enjoyable for you as it was for me. I'm just going to take a second to talk about how this course has changed my approach to teaching. And obviously with the implementation of the flipped classroom, things were a lot different for me this year than they were last year. The first thing that I'll address is the concept that has meant the most to me and how I would be able to implement it in my classroom. This is definitely the pacing all lessons for all learners idea. Once I figured out how to really pace my lessons for my students and then tie assessments into that, my students found so much success in learning and in assessments. Before they would just dread when they had a little quiz or something, but the way that I could tie the assessments through PlayPosit into my videos that I created for my students was really beneficial to them. My students loved that they were able to take the time to revisit the material, to listen to things, to rewind and play back and go over things again as they were making their way through the assessment was a really beneficial tool for them. So I highly recommend the PlayPosit application, and that was the best thing for me for my flipped classroom experience. The assignment or the concept that I enjoyed the least or believe I would not have a place in my classroom for this, I'm going to go with the I believe I would not have a place. This was me trying to use a flipped lesson video to introduce a group project. This was a horrible idea on my part, but I really wanted to embrace the idea that every lesson could be turned into a flipped lesson. And unfortunately, in this case, it did not work. My students needed a lot more guidance than I was able to give them in a 10 to 15-minute flipped video. And trying to see them come together on a group project that they didn't have enough fluid instruction on was kind of a mess. So that's something that I would not implement in my classroom. There's just not a place for that sort of instruction. The overall idea of the flipped classroom with the fun little mini lessons with grammar and language and things, those were awesome. Introducing my students to thesis statements, that was perfect. And that kind of ties into my next slide here. What I learned, what I was surprised to learn, I was really surprised to learn how creative my students were. They were so much more creative than I anticipated. And giving them the digital format to do things really opened up a whole new world for them. And it was exciting to see what they would produce via flipped video assignments. I also learned that I cannot trust that my students know the basic concepts of research and databases, which is really surprising to me. I'm very new to the district that I'm in, so I'm not familiar with a lot of the things that the students learned before they got to me or where they were at in the research process. But being able to use flipped videos to teach them about how to write a thesis statement and how to use databases was a really great thing, because as they were watching me on my screencast access the websites and databases to find information on, they were able to do that themselves, and it proved to be very, very beneficial. I also learned that not all flipped classrooms can be saved from the tragedy of disengaged students. Unfortunately, in my district, there's a teacher who had to unflip her classroom because the level of disengaged students was so high. That was a math classroom, and there was just not enough organization. And I really got to see the side effects of not engaging students completely and not pacing lessons. It has nothing to do with the type of teacher that that specific person is, just the way that the classroom was flipped to begin with. And so I was able to learn from those downfalls, and it's a very unfortunate experience for that specific teacher, but it was kind of to my benefit, which sounds a little bit sad. So the disengaged students, if there are students that are not engaged in lessons, that really needs to be addressed immediately. And I see exactly why that's a thing. So what could make this course better? Sometimes I felt like I needed a little bit of live guidance, and I struggled with using that digital tablet. It was horrible. The live guidance thing is just me. That's just how I learn. Sometimes I wished that I was able to sit in a classroom and be on a computer next to someone and watch it all happen. My biggest struggle was making sure that my lessons for this course were taking place at the appropriate place in my unit planning. That didn't really work out for me. When our schedules are crazy and things change, the ELA exams threw me off. So I found a little bit of upset with when to implement lessons based on when they were doing this course, which is just a technicality on my end. But overall, I really, really enjoyed my experience in the flipped classroom course, and I would highly recommend it to another peer or colleague. And I hope that everyone else enjoyed this just as much as I did. Have a great night, and thanks so much. Bye.